Welcome to RH at Home. I'm Chad Clement, pastor here at Redemption Hill Church, and we're excited that you're joining us today. It's been a couple weeks. I really want to spend a moment before we get into this morning's message or today's message, just to hopefully remind those of you who are part of what we call our RH at Home or our online community or family. We don't do live recordings. We just kind of lack some of those resources. So over the last year and a half, however long it's been since we've been doing this, we've pre-recorded everything, and we've hit kind of one of those busy times of the year for us. So like 2 weeks ago or thereabouts, I was out of town for youth camp. And so we left early on a Monday morning. We got back late on a Saturday night. And so, and then in preparation for our youth camp Sunday, we didn't really just have the opportunity to record a service. 1 week, I think we had some technical difficulties. Last week, actually, David Lunn, who runs our youth, actually preached. And so we didn't have the opportunity to record that. And then coming up here in the next week or next 2 weeks, I guess it is, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to miss a Sunday for a vacation. So we're still working and trying to accommodate you as best as we can. We just want you to hopefully realize and have grace with us that there'll be Sundays that there may not be a message that we can post. And so with that just being said, we just wanted to thank you again for joining us. I realize there's some of you who are local to our area, who have been a part of our faith family that for whatever reason haven't made it back yet into our in-person services. I also realize that we've had some people over the last year or so that aren't local who have been trying to connect with us and been walking through the different studies like the Ezra, the Nehemiahs, and now Matthew. So we're just glad that you're a part of it. So anyways, today we're going to be in Matthew chapter 9, and we missed a recorded portion of the first part of Matthew 9, so verses like 1 through 13. And in that passage we see Jesus heals this paralytic man, and it's a pretty kind of cool story. This man has some friends. They're trying to take him to where Jesus is. He's teaching probably in Peter's home. It's too busy, it's too crowded for them to get into where Jesus is, so they go to the roof, kind of create a hole in the roof, and they lower their friend down through the roof in the middle of Jesus' message, which must have been pretty amazing, right? And Jesus heals this man. He heals him spiritually, forgives him of his sins, he heals him spiritually, and then he heals him physically. After that, we saw this, as they're leaving, They passed this man named Matthew, who was a tax collector. And Jesus goes and he calls Matthew to follow him, to become one of his disciples. And so at first we're like, that's kind of crazy. It's cool, you're a tax collector. And sometimes we want to equate that to like the IRS today. And it's a poor comparison, because in Matthew's day, or in Jesus' day, tax collectors were crooks, to be honest with you. Like, they extorted money out of people. At this time, Israel isn't like their own sovereign nation. They're under Roman control. And so the taxes that they're paying are going to the Roman government. But here's what's unique. Just so happens that Matthew is Jewish in heritage, but he has, for all practical purposes, turned his back on his own people. He turns his back on his own people to receive a job in the Roman government to tax his own people far and above. And then what they would do is, the way in which those tax collectors would earn their own revenue, their own money, their own living, is they would charge more than what they were required to collect. And so Matthew would have been a pretty wealthy man. He would have been a man who ran out and hung out with the scoundrels. We called it the scum of Capernaum. right? He was in an evil business, and so evil businesses tend to have evil people, and evil people tend to hang out with evil people, and that's kind of the picture they get. Jesus goes and he makes this or extends this invitation to Matthew, follow me, and Matthew immediately follows Jesus. And then we see this other cool picture that Matthew collects all of his friends for like a reception, like a party at his house. And of course, his friends were all hoodlums, like they were all crazy, like messed up individuals. And Jesus comes there to Matthew's home and he hangs out with these sinners. Beautiful picture, awesome picture. But in the midst of that, we see these Pharisees getting upset, and they question Jesus and his tactics and what he's doing. And what's interesting is they don't just question Jesus directly. They begin to whisper into the ears of the other disciples, trying to create doubt and add questions. So we pick up from that particular thing, and what we're going to see today is like this is an incredibly busy day. All right, and I guess the next portion of that is this picture of being asked this question about fasting, a spiritual practice, and Jesus took that question and made it a much grander picture of following him. So we pick up today in Matthew chapter 9, starting in verse 18, and we're going to try to get through verse 34. And we're going to see this is an incredibly busy day for Jesus. Right? He's been teaching, he's already performed some miracles, and in rapid fire we're going to see Jesus performing more miracles. And I hope that we're going to see him touch on a really incredible lesson for you and for me. So beginning in Matthew chapter 9, verse 18, and we'll try to break these up by miracles. Now the first one, it's like a 1-2 punch. There's one situation taking place, and we're going to see two miracles performed. So let me read this picture here, this first event. It says, while he was saying these things to them, so while Jesus had kind of was teaching, was instructing, behold, a ruler came in and knelt before him. Now, to just give us an understanding here, this particular section we find both in Mark and in Luke. And this ruler's name is Jairus. He's actually a ruler of the synagogue. So he's a religious leader, if you will. He would have been of the same standing background of like these Pharisees that we've come in contact with. So while he was finishing up these teachings, behold, a ruler came to him, or Jairus came and knelt before him. This kneeling before him is this sign of respect, a sign of honor. Okay. One of the commentaries I read about it was a posture. He was assuming the posture that the Magi had when they came and they kneeled before baby Jesus when they found him early on in his life. Right. So, anyways, he comes before him and saying, "My daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her, and she will live." Verse 19 says, and Jesus rose and followed him with his disciples. And behold, a woman who had suffered from a discharge of blood for 12 years came upon him and touched the fringe of his garment. For she said to herself, if I only touch this garment, I will be made well. Jesus turned and seeing her, he said, take heart, daughter, your faith has made you well. And instantly the woman was made well. And when Jesus came to the ruler's house and saw the flute players and the crowd making a commotion, he said, go away, for the girl is not dead but sleeping. And they laughed at him. But when the crowd had been put outside, he went in and took her by the hand, and the girl arose. And the report of this went through that district. And so as I said, we see like really two miracles in like quickly in kind of the same general event. Like Jairus comes, finds Jesus, kneels before Jesus. And as I mentioned, as I was kind of giving you a little bit of the bio of Jairus, is he's this religious leader. He's would have been well known. Like his circumstance probably was known. And think about this. This is a sign of desperation for Jairus. Like his daughter had died. When we read about this event in Mark and Luke, we are told that this This girl was 12 years old. So a young girl died. We also learned that this was his only daughter. And so he comes before him. Now consider this. Like the looks of some of those other religious leaders when they see this. What is he doing? How can he do this? I can't believe Jairus is going to Jesus. Yet we see this real faith that Jairus had, that he goes before Jesus kneeling and makes a humble request that Jesus would come to his home, would lay his hands on his daughter and heal her. And Jesus honors the request. He goes and he follows Jairus. And on the way to Jairus' home, there's an interruption. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't always handle interruptions well. I have 4 kids. They're getting older now, so some of those interruptions are different. I have 2 high school daughters. I've got a middle school daughter, and then a son who's going into the 3rd grade. But I'll remember all of them at different stages of their life, especially when they're younger, like the interruptions, like, hey, Daddy, can we, Daddy, can we, Daddy, can we, Daddy, can we? And oftentimes it would be like when you're in the middle of trying to do something, maybe a project at the house or having to finish up work on your computer or answer emails or take telephone calls or whatever it is. But a constant, Daddy, can we, these little interruptions. And to be honest with you, oftentimes I'd get bothered. I'd get upset. And listen, Jesus here, as we're going to see all this, Jesus has already had a long day before this event takes place. And Jesus is going to honor that, and those disciples that are going with him, they're going to go to Jairus' home. But on the way, they come or are faced with another interruption. There's this woman, a woman who has this blood disorder. She's hemorrhaging, and in essence, like when we read again, this is this event, this woman with this blood disorder is also just talked about in Mark and in Luke. And when we read this about her, this woman has been fighting this issue for 12 years. This blood disorder would have made her ceremonially or ritually unclean. So she wouldn't have had access to like the temple. She wouldn't have had the opportunity to worship. Like for us in our day, wouldn't have been able to go to church for 12 years. Yet we see this faith, that she had a faith in Jesus. She knew who he was. And I believe it's Mark, we read that she had used all of her means. All the money she had over the years had been spent on other physicians and doctors and people who thought they could help her, yet she found herself, rather than the situation improving, and getting worse and worse. And she had this belief of faith that if she could just touch the fringe of Jesus' garment. In Jesus' day, they would have these tassels, 4 tassels that would be sewn to the fringe of the outer garment. It was a reminder for the people to follow the covenant commands of God. And so in her mind, if she just touched that one almost string-like part of his outer garment, she would be healed. What a faith. And as she does that, as Jesus is walking on his way and she just touches that string, Jesus knows what has happened. He stops in the midst of this interruption of sorts. It's an amazing picture because it shows us that Jesus has time for us all. It reminds us that he can't just do one thing and we have to wait in line. But Jesus has the authority, has the power, has the grace and the compassion for all of our circumstances, big and small. And he looks at that woman. He responds to her. I love it. He says, "Take heart, daughter." This term of endearment. Take heart, daughter. Your faith has healed you. The faith that she had in Jesus, because she had placed her trust and her faith in Jesus Christ, she was healed instantly. From there, the story goes that Jesus, after this brief interruption, continues. And I don't know, in the midst of this, like Jairus is probably, obviously is upset, is a bother, and he sees that interruption. I don't know if this is an event that strengthens his faith. My gut kind of tells me, at least at the beginning, he's frustrated. Like, no, Jesus, we don't have time to do this. We have to get back to my daughter. I need you to heal. I need you to heal her. Yet Jesus takes time with this woman. He heals her. And maybe as Jairus watches that unfold, he realizes the vast power and authority of Jesus. And so they get to this home. And we almost see this, what appears to be kind of an odd picture. Jesus goes into the home, and the funeral has already started. Jesus tells the people to leave, that she's not dead, that she's sleeping. And we see this picture where the people begin to laugh. They're like, how in the world could these family members be laughing at a statement that Jesus makes? And understand this, that those probably weren't his family members. What would happen in Jewish tradition? They would employ at least 2 flute players and at least 1 mourner. So at every Jewish funeral, there would be 2 flute players and then 1 mourner. They were professionals in the funeral business. Now that was the minimum that could be done. So here you have a Jewish ruler. So certainly there were more than just 2 flute players and 1 mourner. There was probably a whole vast group there. And so these paid professionals see this, and Jesus comes in and he says, y'all need to leave. She's not dead, or she's just sleeping. And they see that, they hear that, and they begin to laugh at him. Like, who is this man? Well, he is crazy. He's nuts. She is dead. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She is dead. Jesus shoos them out of the home. Once the home empties with just few people, probably those disciples that went with him and her parents, this little girl's parents, Jesus goes to this girl's room and takes her by the hand. And he brings her back to life. He resurrects her. This picture when he said that she's not dead, she's sleeping, letting the people know that it was just a temporary condition. And what's amazing to us, the thing that we get to take heart in as believers, for those of you who put your trust and your faith in Jesus, that death is not the end. For us, it is the beginning. It is our opportunity to go spend eternity with him in heaven. And so we just, in these first few verses, we see this amazing power, this amazing authority, yet we also see this rich compassion and grace and mercy that Jesus has. And these faithful people, this woman with this blood disorder who had great faith in Jesus and who he was. Jairus, this ruler of the synagogue, going against what his counterparts believed, humbly going before Jesus with such faith, knowing that even though his daughter was dead, that he, Jesus, could heal her. Next, we get to verse 27. And as Jesus passed on from there, so again, we've had a busy day, teachings and miracles. They're leaving Jairus' home and probably heading back to where they were staying. Maybe Peter's house, maybe Matthew's, I'm not sure, but heading back that way. It says, as Jesus passed on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying aloud, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." So again, more interruptions, right? Part of me has to think, man, these guys are gassed, they're exhausted, they're just ready to get back to a place where they can maybe eat and relax and go to sleep. Yet we see another interruption. These these two blind men. Blind men who are following Jesus. And I want you to see this. They call it to him, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." In the midst of their cry for mercy, understand the title they give him. They refer to Jesus as the Son of David. They are calling Jesus the Messiah. If you remember, when we introduced our study in the book of Matthew, where we said that Matthew is writing to Jewish people. He is writing to strengthen those who have already followed Jesus, who have become believers, who have become Christians. He's also writing to those who are facing or wrestling with those questions. And at its core, what Matthew is going to do and what he has been doing is he's proving, is he's showing that Jesus Christ was the Messiah. And so here we see this. We see these blind men. They know who Jesus is. They realize he's not just some good teacher. They realize that he doesn't have just some special powers. They realize that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of David, God. And so they're crying out for his mercy. Verse 28 says, "And when he entered the house, the blind men came in to him." I love this. Is kind of a cool picture. So Jesus hears these things, but he's not acknowledging them. He enters into the place where they're staying. And that doesn't stop these blind men. They keep going. More than likely, these two blind men aren't by themselves. They probably have friends with them. It's maybe a somewhat similar situation as those that paralyzed man at the beginning of Matthew chapter 9, who had his friends lower him down. Like these two blind men would have had to have people, friends, family, whatever it was, help them, like as they traveled, as they moved, as they were going. And so, but I love, like, the door doesn't stop them. Like Jesus, they just go in. It says that Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I'm able to do this?" He asked them a question. He turns to them and he says, point blank in their face, "Do you believe? Do you have faith that I can do this? Is this real?" And they said, "Yes, Lord." Verse 29 says, "And then he touched their eyes, saying, 'According to your faith be it done to you.' And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly warned them, 'See that no one knows about it.' But they went away and spread his fame throughout all the district." See, Jesus, he says, "Listen, do you guys really, genuinely believe that I can heal you?" And they respond, "Yes, Lord." Jesus takes them. I love it. He says, and he touched their eyes. He said, "According to your faith, be it so. Do it." And they could see. I think it's what an awesome picture, because those men, we don't know all their background. We don't know how long they had been blind. We don't know if this is something that happened at birth or what, but no doubt their eyes were dark and they couldn't see. And when the light broke through and they saw, the first thing they saw was the face of Jesus. And some take this as at the end where Jesus says, "Now go and don't tell anybody." You see, Jesus had been gathering lots of crowds. And we've mentioned this on several occasions. There's no doubt when Jesus would go and teach, you had a wide, diverse group of people. People there for a wide amount of reasons. Some curious. Some had heard stories about him. Some had heard how powerful his teachings were. Remember at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, it talked about how the people were amazed that Jesus taught with such authority and such power. And so there were some that just wanted to sit in this dynamic teaching. Jesus has performed a plethora of miracles to this point. So you have this group of people that are there just almost wondering, is this going to be like another magic show? Like, what's he going to do next? At least he's getting bigger and bigger. What else can he do? There's no doubt you have people that are bringing loved ones or friends who have different ailments and conditions with the hopes that Jesus would heal them. And Jesus, in the midst of of all those miracles, in the midst of those healings, Jesus' primary concern was not for the physical healing, but for the spiritual healing. He didn't want the crowds there just to witness miracles. His Father's business was to heal spiritual conditions. But yet these men were so overjoyed, they couldn't stay silent. They went and they told. And so we have all these different miracles that are taking place, and it leads us down to this last one we'll mention today. Verse 32 says, "And as they were going away, behold, a demon-oppressed man who was mute was brought to him. And when the demon had been cast out, the mute man spoke. And the crowds marveled, saying, Never has anything like this seen in Israel. But the Pharisees said, He cast out demons by the prince of demons." And so we see this last miracle where this individual, as Jesus is leaving, trying to get away from all this stuff, he's brought one more situation. This man is mute, unable to speak, not because he has some physical condition, that he's physically sick. The reason that he's mute, the reason he's unable to speak, is because he's been demon possessed. And Jesus goes and he casts out this demon. And once that demon is cast from this man, the man regains his ability to speak. And see, as we look at these different miracles, I love what we see here, is because, as I just mentioned before, Jesus was not focused solely on the physical needs of the people. This man was not facing a physical problem. He was facing a spiritual problem. And Jesus' miracles aren't bound only to physical things, but we see this spiritual miracle, a healing of casting out demons. And the people see this and they respond like, "We've never seen anything like this in all of Israel. This is crazy, like this power, this authority that he has." I mean, he's healing. He's brought a dead person back to life. He's a woman with a 12-year blood hemorrhaging issue. We've seen 2 blind men healed, and now he's cast out demons. He has done all of this. This is amazing. Like this. We've never seen anything like this. And then we have the Pharisees, who respond with,